Let's say you've made some progress in life. You've saved up some money, or maybe you now have access to some good funds. Or perhaps you're in the diaspora and you're finally ready to own property back home. Now comes the big decision. Should you buy an apartment or should you buy a house? I know it sounds like a simple question, but then here in Ghana, the answer is far from simple. But let's be honest, property prices in Ghana are not exactly friendly. So if you're going to commit to such a big move to buy a property, you need to get it right. So should you go for a sleek, modern apartment with all the amenities you may or may never really use? Or should you chase the classic Ghanaian dream of owning a standalone house? I'm Desmond Kafui and you're welcome to this episode of Ghana Ground Up. Now in this episode, we're breaking it all down. Not just the obvious pros and cons, but then the hidden costs, the lifestyle trade-offs, and the red flags to watch out for. And more importantly, the long-term considerations that really matter. And all this will be based on your goals, your budget, and also the realities of the property market here in Ghana. So let's dive in. Before we go deep, I'd like to clear up a lingering misconception about the use of the word apartment. Now, here in Ghana, once you see a multi-story residential project, we call it an apartment. Whether you're buying the unit or renting it, we still call it an apartment. But then there's a difference, and the key differentiator here is the ownership structure. Let me explain. Apartments are typically owned by a single entity, like let's say a property management company, and that entity or that company will rent out the units to tenants. On the other hand, condominiums, or condos for short, are individually owned units. Now, each unit belongs to a private owner, and that person may end up living in the property or renting it out. And a condo owner will end up also paying a monthly fee to the Homeowners Association, which we call the HOA. This fee is normally referred to as the service charge and is used to manage the shared amenities in the complex and also covers the maintenance of the project. So to summarize, apartments are owned by one landlord or company, and then tenants rent the units from them, while condos are owned by individuals who live in them or rent them out. But for the sake of what's popular, I'll use the term apartments to refer to both condos and also proper apartments, just to clear any confusions anybody may have regarding what word to use and when to use it. Anyway, we're still talking about whether to buy a house or an apartment, so let's move on. Let's start with the obvious determinant, money. And no, we're not just talking about the price tag of the property that you are keen on. We're also talking about the full cost of ownership of that property. And this is where many buyers go wrong. Now, some people compare a 3-bedroom apartment in airport residential area to a 3-bedroom house in, let's say, someplace like Kaswa or somewhere outside Accra, and they wonder why the price is so different, like worlds apart. You may get similar vibes of home in either unit, but then that's where the similarities end. The fair comparison should rather be this: what can you actually afford in the same location? And if you're comparing, let's say, different areas and all that, don't forget to factor in things like your commute, your lifestyle choice, or your lifestyle needs, and also time. Let's break it down. For apartments, there is a monthly service charge and it's not optional. You can't skip it. You have to pay it. Whether you live in an apartment or not, once you own the unit, you have to pay it. Now, you also have limited say when it comes to the major repairs and renovations in the building. You also only own a part of the building, and so you can't just do anything you like. You need to conform to the regulations governing that building. Now, on the other hand, with houses, everything is in your control and you bear all the responsibilities from, let's say, from water to power to security. It's all on you to figure out, and there's no management office that you can call to help you out. So regardless of the option you settle for, whether an apartment or a house, none is actually cheaper. They both have their cost elements structured quite differently. So if you have your eyes set on a property, you may want to add about 20 to 30% on top of your expected expenditure for that property to account for the extras. And you would also see that this will give you a better realistic budget rather than just limiting yourself to the price tag on the property. So if you have a property selling for, let's say, 100,000 Ghana cedis, your working budget should be at least 120,000 cedis or even 130,000 cedis, knowing well that there will always be something to pay for. Now, let's look at why people buy apartments. Now, apartments have become increasingly popular in Ghana over the past decade, especially in the prime areas. And they're trendy, they're polished, and they often come with diverse conveniences. Location is one of the biggest selling points, and you'd see that in a place like, let's say, airport residential area or cantonments, Laboni, or even in Ridge, land is scarce and houses are often out of reach. They are really priced out of the reach of many Ghanaians. For many buyers, apartments are the only realistic way for them to make their homes in some of these prime neighborhoods. But then beyond location, security and peace of mind are also big attractions. You'd see that most developments offer gated access. They have 24/7 security and also front desk services, which are ideal for diasporans or people who travel quite frequently. And you also see that when you leave your apartment or when you're not around, you have someone else who is watching over your property. Another plus is the amenities you get to enjoy in the complex or in the apartment. Now, when we use the term amenities, we're just referring to the features and the services you get to enjoy in a place. So you get to enjoy, let's say, the swimming pools, the gym, the elevator, the backup power, and also designated parking. So you don't have to go struggle for parking. And all these things you get to enjoy in, let's say, an apartment complex. So these are the amenities you get to enjoy. So when you hear the property marketers talking about the amenities and all that, this is basically what they're referring to. There are also some intangible amenities, and normally this take the form of property management services and other related services just to make sure that you're very comfortable in your apartment. Now, for property investors, apartments in central locations can be good income generating machines, which are quite perfect for Airbnb, expat rentals, and also long-term rentals. If you do it right, you'll make some really good returns. One other incentive that drives people to choose apartments over houses is the lower cost of maintaining the property. You'd have people who are taking care of your cleanup. There are people doing your repair works, and often the shared cost, which normally takes the form of service charges, means that you don't have to expect any substantial costs slapped on you over time. Now let's switch gears. We've made a case for why people prefer apartments, but then let's move to houses and why some people still prefer them. There's something quite emotionally satisfying and culturally significant about owning your own house. For many people, this feels like a move to cement their legacy. It has become sort of the ultimate symbol to show that you've made it. With a house, you have complete freedom and control. You also get to have all the space in the house to yourself, and this is a major plus for a lot of people. You're not confined to a boxed unit with a small balcony somewhere in an apartment. You can stretch out, you can entertain your guests, you can raise your kids there with ease. You can also plant a mango tree on your compound if you want to, but then this is not possible in an apartment. Another thing that a lot of people consider and value when choosing a house is privacy. You get a lot of that, especially when you get the location right. Now, long-term value is very important. So when you consider areas that are some distance away from central Accra, like let's say Pokwase, Oyibi, Pram Pram, these places may seem quite far away for now, but then today's bush can become tomorrow's hotspot. You may never know. Finally, if you're not buying, but then you're rather building your own house, you can take your time and build at your own pace. You get to start small and then expand when you're ready. Now, compared to apartments, you either buy the full unit or you don't. You can't just buy a piece of it and then buy the rest when you're ready. You may get some payment plans, but then it's not the same as building at your own pace. Let's move beyond the cost and talk about how you actually want to live. Because really, we can't talk about the home you want without talking about the lifestyle you want. Now, living in an apartment usually means that there's going to be more people, so there's going to be more community interaction. And your neighbors are always close by, and you will have to share common spaces like your gym, the pools, and other amenities with them. Now, the security is often tight, so you can easily lock up your unit and then travel, go wherever you want, knowing well that somebody is watching over your unit for you. The lifestyle here is often low stress and doesn't require a lot of responsibility on your part to maintain your property. But then if you're living in a house, well, obviously you control your entire environment. You get to have your space, you get more privacy, and also the freedom to expand and renovate as you grow. And all this freedom comes with more upkeep. But then the key word here is freedom. So then let's get real about making the choice between an apartment and a house. Step number one, you need to define your non-negotiables. Now, there are things that will be deal breakers for you, and you can think of something like, let's say, your commute time. Will you be very comfortable driving from where your house will be to other parts of town? And will it be a long commute or a short commute? Will that commute become a stress point at some time, into living in that location? Also, what are the amenities that you must have? How much space do you need? Do you prefer privacy or community living? You'd see that answering these questions will give you the first line of clarity on which option to go for or which option to start with, whether an apartment or a house. Step number two, you need to calculate your true budget. Now, your budget is not just the price of the property or the price that the property is selling for. Your true budget is the property selling price plus a bit more to make up for some hidden costs and also some ongoing expenses like your monthly service charges if you're going for an apartment, some maintenance costs here and there, as well as the transportation to and fro, and also the bills that you have to pay. Step number three, you need to visit the properties in both categories. Now, go check out some apartments that have your interest. You also want to go see some houses. So, go there, walk the grounds, talk to the residents, check the little things like, let's say, water pressure, for instance, or even check the noise levels. Now, these things are seemingly little things, but then they have the potential to determine whether you're going to enjoy living in that property over the long term. Step number four, you need to think into the future, let's say 5 to 10 years down the line. Now, will this home still suit you if you have kids? Can you afford it if your income changes? And if life forces you to move, will you be able to sell it off easily? And you see this thing about selling off properties. I see many people trying to sell their houses and the properties stay on the market for a very long time with nobody showing interest. Now, this dilemma often comes about because people build leaning entirely on their preferences without factoring in the potential to sell that property later. Now, imagine you're selling off, let's say, a 7-bedroom house today, and that building has an outdated style, and it's in the market with other buildings that are new with modern designs. Definitely there's going to be some struggle to sell that property. Anyway, just something to think about. Now that we have more clarity on the considerations you need to make, here are some warning signs that you need to look out for. Now, in apartments, your service charges are most certainly going to go up, and it may be slow over time, but then definitely it's going to go up. Inflation and all that, so you can expect it. But then do well to get a proper interpretation of the amount you have to pay. You need to also look out for poor facility management, maybe a lack of functioning homeowners association, and also hidden fees or unclear ownership of the property that you're in. And very often a lot of people buy into apartments, and then definitely through the buying process you get to understand who owns the land, who owns who the developer is, and all these things. But then make sure you're not pitching your tent with somebody who is not tried and tested. Make sure you're not pitching your tent with somebody who is not, let's say, reputable, someone without integrity. Make sure you have all these checks done properly so you don't end up in an apartment where you're going to just be waking up to problems day in, day out. There's a statement that is mostly true, that is see, saw. What you saw over time is likely to prevail moving forward. So then let the red flags sound a warning to you. You don't want to be in an apartment that has problems down the line and then every resident will just have to live with it. Now, with houses, beware of unregistered or unclear documentation. Get the land title properly sorted out. If you have issues with poor drainage, especially when it rains, you see a lot of flooding around, let that be a red flag to you and let it speak to you. Don't go expecting that, because there's a plan to fix the drains in this area in the short term, you can just go pitch your tent there and then you'll be fine. You will definitely pay for it, and you don't want to invest a lot of money into a place only to have to be dealing with issues, losing your valuables, losing property, having to deal with floods and all that. Get it right and save yourself all the headache. And you see, the rains are coming, and unfortunately, many places will flood. I'm not a bad prophet or anything like that, but then the structures that we have in place are better predictors of future problems. Check for other things on the side like reliable water supply, electricity, and all that. And don't ignore the basics like the security in the area. If you hear rumors about robberies and all that, you better believe it. Remember that irrespective of what property option you go for, whether an apartment or a house, you're not just buying walls, you're buying into a lifestyle. So choose wisely. We'll leave you with this quick guide. Choose an apartment if you value location more than space, if you want low maintenance living, if you appreciate amenities and shared security, or if you expect to move to a new place within a few years. Now, on the other hand, choose a house if you want privacy, if you want more room to grow, if you're comfortable managing your own property issues, if you plan to stay on long term, or if you want more flexibility to build and customize your property as you wish. Now, here's a bonus tip. If you are still not sure, rent first. Spend a few months in each type of property. Maybe experience an apartment for a few months and then go experience a house for a few months. See it for yourself and get to experience what will frustrate you, what you can live with, just so you can decide finally that, okay, based on what I've experienced, I want to buy a house or I want to buy an apartment. So, should you buy a house or should you buy an apartment in Ghana? Well, there's no one size fits all answer, but then for now, at least, you've got some insights based on what we've shared, and you've got some tools to make the right call. Look at your budget, consider your lifestyle choices, think long term, and remember, you can always upgrade later. But then, getting it wrong now could cost you a lot of money, so do all to get it right. Thank you for tuning into this episode. And if it helped you to get a new insight or a new perspective, do well to share, do well to like, and of course, subscribe if you haven't. And let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. Are you for buying an apartment or are you for buying a house? I'm Desmond Kafui, and this is Ghana Ground Up. I'll catch you on the next episode as we build Ghana from the ground up.